Well, hello there, and welcome to Jump Into Success, the personal development podcast from UKCPD. Okay, well, let's get going. Okay, so here we are, and this is episode 3 of the podcast in season 2. Can you believe we're in season 2? And it's September. We're into September now. The summer's over, and so everybody back to school, back to university, back to work, and getting back into the rhythm of life from our summer holiday. So if you're listening, I hope you had a great holiday and you had some time off and were able to kick back and soak up a bit of sunshine, have some downtime, and give the old body a bit of a rest and rejuvenate and ready for action. So this week's podcast, we have an interview with a colleague, actually, John Lewis, who is very successful in his business coaching and speaking, and he works with some really amazing people, sports people, world-class sports individuals. So we'll get to that in a second. Actually, I will say that the interview was so good and we went on for so long because we could have talked for even longer, but we had to sort of cut off in the end because it was so good. We might have to have him back another time, but we're going to do part 1 this week and part 2 next week because it was a really, really great interview. John's a great guy, but we'll get into that in a moment. So just a couple of things we want to mention as we're now in September. And of course, this podcast is brought to you from the UK College of Personal Development. And we're keen on, people engaging in personal development. So if you're keen on doing something, it doesn't have to be a big thing, a small thing, why not take a look at what the college has to offer, UKCPD.co.uk. Lots and lots of different courses from full qualifications right through to some smaller things that you might be, interested in, just to kind of stimulate that personal and professional development kind of sense of curiosity about learning, lifelong learning, and all of those kind of things. Now, one of the things I will mention today is UKCPD-TV. So UKCPD-TV, just go onto the website, click on UKCPD-TV, and what you'll find there is a whole bunch of webinars that are happening in September. And they're free, you just got to register, and some really great things that we're going to be discussing all around, why you want to do personal development, how it unlocks your potential, helps to become more successful, both in your career as well as in life. We've got one focusing on the importance of understanding why you would want to study NLP and indeed coaching together and how that enhances your overall personal and indeed professional success. So if you're interested in those, why not just pop along to the website, and we'll put the links in the correspondence that goes with this podcast. But yeah, we'd love to have you along on those. They're always great events, and we always do a giveaway. So we'll always do giveaways as well at the end of those. So that's coming up in September, as well as the Be Inspired group. We'll be kicking back into action with all of the live events with that as well. Of course, they're all on live. I say live events, they are online, but yes, they are live. Very, very interactive. So be sure to join the Be Inspired group if you're interested in personal development, as well as all of the other things, the qualifications that we normally have starting. You know what it is, like any other college, we follow the academic cycle. So September is enrollment time, so lots of enrollment going on. Now then, let's get on to our interview. So John Lewis is a coach, a very successful coach. He works with both businesses, life coaching, and a lot of sports people as well. And he does a lot of speaking and motivational work. He works with some teams as well as individuals. I've mentioned the sports. And I've known John for a long, long time. He's a graduate of the college and a good friend, actually. And he helps out on one of our programs. Actually, he runs a whole workshop on mental health, watching out for those kind of things in our NLP practitioner. I almost forgot what it was called. Excuse me, NLP practitioner and coaching certification. That's it. He does one of the workshops that around mental health and how coaches can watch out for those kind of things. Now, as I say, the interview was so good, we've decided to split it into part 1 and part 2. So part 2 is today, and we will have the second part next week. So let me just introduce John now, and I'm sure you'll enjoy this, and I'll do a little wrap up at the end of the recording. enjoy this interview with John. Okay, so it's my great privilege to introduce John Lewis from JL Mindset Performance. And John and I go way back. He's a student of the college and indeed a colleague, and has joined the college. And he delivers one of the modules on our NLP practitioner and coaching certification program. John, how are you today? Lovely to see you.
I am fine and dandy, I think, Tony, but as always, lovely to see you too. Lovely to see you.
Great. Now, obviously, we've interviewed you once before for the Be Inspired group, but we thought, giving them these podcasts, let's have another go at that and maybe just explore a few extra things and maybe in a little bit more detail. So to start us off with, just, John, for those who probably don't know you, because the podcast is going out to people who are not necessarily part of the college. The Be Inspired group is mostly college people. A few others have kind of joined nonchalantly. So that's kind of interesting and joined. But the podcast goes out to the universe. So maybe tell people who are listening in a little bit about yourself and your background, just some stuff so they have a sense of who you are.
Okay, so I would say my proudest achievements in my world are my two children. I've got a boy who's 17 and my daughter who's 15. I've got a pug sat on my lap who actually isn't like a child of mine, although she's more hard work than my children. I've been married for 19 years this year.
Wow.
And I think in 19 years, Tony, I've won Husband of the Year award for 8 of them.
You've won it many times, I'm quite sure.
Yes. In my mind, Tony, my world, my model of reality seems to be very different than the general population. And in my mind, in my map of reality, Husband of the Year every year.
Good. So a family man, running a business, and a pug, pet dog, which I've met, of course, which never stopped barking at me, and I was a little bit, it was going to bite me, but it never did, so that was all right. So you're obviously working as a coach and I think as a trainer now and sort of speaker as well. But before you got into that, what sort of work? I know you were running your own business. Tell our listeners a little bit about that. So have a sense of your background.
So I had a transport company since 2001, I think, 2001. It's something it was one of those things that I never kind of went into thinking this is it, this is the end game for me. I'm here and I'm here for life, etc. It was that point in time where me and my wife now, who was then, my girlfriend, we were looking at kind of moving on, getting a mortgage, etc. Really going through that next stage of life as a couple. And of course, what comes with that, Tony, comes mortgage, comes bills, comes, all these things that you kind of take for granted when you're living at home. So this role came up to just a small owner driver delivery firm, which I took over, and it was one of them, Tony, when it paid okay, kept the bills, kept the roof over the head, kept the bills, paid, etc. And it was just like a day-to-day job. That's how I call it, because it's purpose. Then the kids come along. Obviously, they're not cheap, so I still need to keep the wheels are turning on the transport company to make sure they're all fed and clothed, and so it really served a massive purpose, Tony. But I knew for me that wasn't it. That wasn't it. There was more within me that needed to
something else was going to happen.
And I always believed that, Tony. I think when my kids got older, I was then able to kind of reflect on me again and what my needs professionally, what needs of mine aren't being met. And even though I had the best right arm tan in the world, Tony, where I was driving around, with the sun beating down on my right arm, the white man van tan, I knew there was more that I wanted to offer. There was more within me that I knew, was more of a calling, more of, what I believe I was put on this earth to do.
Okay. So what happened then that you sort of one day you must have said, right, that's it. I'm going to do a little bit of research and I'm going to change direction. I'm going to train to be a coach. Was there like a trigger, or was it just it kind of evolved and became a thing in your head? Right, I'm going to do this. What was the kind of?
Yeah, I think for me, Tony, it was, again, ever since I was a young boy, I've always been interested in people and helping people. And, it's something I naturally always did. I always liked getting on with people and understanding people's stories, and we're always able to build rapport very easily with people. So I don't think it was like I don't think it was a spark that just kind of went off in my brain one day. I just think it was something that naturally evolved. And then I felt the time was right. And I can't remember the specifics, at that point in time and why I did it. But I just thought, right, I need to now look at the best way of me, taking my life on professionally. And I did a bit of research on courses, etc. And I think because I hadn't studied for a long time, first and foremost, I needed to make sure, me going back to studying is something that I can fit in and juggle with my life, because obviously I still needed to work. And I always said when I restudy, I don't want it to be at the detriment then of not spending time with my kids and my family, because again, they're my number one. So I just started off on like a small online course just to make sure, yes, I am definitely investing in the right kind of courses. And then I came across this small little college in Old Town Swindon called the UKCPD, and I thought, oh, NLP, what's that all about? Coaching, what's that all about? And lo and behold, it was about something absolutely amazing. Because I always thought myself more as a coach than a therapist per se, because it was more future focused, etc. So again, I kind of studied the college, studying, okay, what is NLP? How can I apply NLP within different aspects of life? I don't really want to niche, even though I love sport. So my first thing was, okay, I want to do work with sports people. But then the more I learned about NLP and coaching, I was like, wow, this can be applied across all boards. It holds no kind of barriers, because it's person-centered. It's person-centered, and it's helping individuals with the tools and techniques, whether that's in their life, sport. And there's me telling you about this NLP stuff. What do you know about it, Tony?
I do just a little bit. Well, it's good to hear other people talking about it, because people hear about from me an awful lot. So you go through the training, you qualify, and then I guess you think, okay, I've got the badge. The next thing comes, I've got to start building the business and building a practice. Yes. What was the kind of first few steps around that?
I think the first few steps around that, Tony, were a case of, okay, and I think I had maybe a little advantage where I already had the transport company, and at that point in time when I was starting this business, I still had that. So I wasn't, being self-employed wasn't new to me. So in a lot of respects, I knew, okay, I know I need to kind of put money away for tax. I was VAT registered at the time. I knew it wasn't just a case of turn up and get paid. It was a case of, right, I know I need to work to make this happen. And I think with me, because I knew it was what I wanted to do, and deep down, I still know it's what I want to do. It was a case of, right, I know this is what I want to do. Now let's figure out how we're going to do it. And I think that's where a lot of people, I think, struggle, Tony. It's like they think, right, I've got the badge now. Now business is just going to land on my doorstep. Further from the truth. The work starts when you start the business.
The hard work starts then, Because they're different skills. They're different skills. Learning to do something is one thing, but learning how to pass it on and sell it to another person, market it and sell it, that's a whole other skill and ball game. And it's very, very interesting. I've had some very interesting conversations recently with people who are going to be joining the college, actually, to do that part that we don't do, which is about building a business. And one of the things that sort of came up in the conversation is, why are we doing it now? We haven't done it for the last 25 years. Was because nobody asked for it in the early days. And I was thinking, well, when did that change? And I think it was during and after COVID and the pandemic and the lockdown, when people sort of made a lot of reevaluation of their lives and what was important. And I thought, well, hang on a second. Yeah, I'm going to do this course because I'm really interested and I want to get the skills, but I also want to have something that's my own, even if it's just a small evening practice, a couple of clients in the evenings, maybe 1 or 2 at the weekends. And they want that extra bit about how to set up a practice. And so we've been wrestling with it for ages, but we think we found the right people to partner with, because it's not a skill of ours in a way. All the people say, yeah, but you've been in business for 25 years, you must know something. Yeah, we do, but I think it's just unique to what we do. I think about helping other people build their practice. You need somebody else. So we've got these extra people coming in, which we'll be rolling out over the next couple of weeks, which is great.
Wow.
And then, of course, you'd made that start, as I recall. And then I remember you coming to see me in the office. You said, I'm doing it. I'm beginning to do it. But I think there's something else that you needed to learn. And I thought, I'm not sure that there is. But at the time, we were just about to start our master practitioner, which is the next one up from practitioner. And I think you sort of almost bit my hand off. What was it about doing that gave you some secret sauce? Because it seemed to me after that, you were pretty much unstoppable.
Yeah, I still am unstoppable, Tony. I think you got to have that mindset within business. Not an arrogance, Tony, because business is hard, as you know. Growing a business is hard. But I always say, the minute you don't believe in yourself and what you're offering is the minute you won't open these doors. You need to open doors in business. You need to have a peek. Okay, is that the right? Yeah, is that the right thing? Yes or no, or it might be later. You need to kind of leave all these clues on the ground for them people to think, okay, I don't need that service now, but however, now I understand what John does or the business does, I can see how that could apply here, there, or however. And I think that's what the master practitioner gave me, Tony. It gave me on that practitioner course, you've got the skills, you've got the techniques, you get the coaching qualification, but I think that master practitioner gave me the confidence to actually say, do you know what? There is no blueprint to any of this. Okay, there's no blueprint to any of this. However, now I'm a master within this area. It gives me the confidence to actually be authentic in how I do things, because I think, again, that's how my brain works best. I'm not very, I could read instructions 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 top to bottom and I'll forget them. But if you gave me an idea of what that is, I could tailor that to myself more as a doing than an academic reading. I think the master practitioner gave me that. It was a case of, you've got the skills, now be confident in yourself, trust in yourself, trust in the processes, and go out and make it your own.
Yeah.
And I think that's what the master prac did.
Yeah, it's interesting because it was because I look back on my own sort of evolution in NLP and coaching as well, and I think it was that master practitioner was something just went, that's it. It's me. I've got to go do it. and not only do I have to, but I think I actually can now. I believe I can. Whereas before I could kind of do the stuff, like you said, I could do change processes and swishes and squashes and, outcomes. Whereas that, I think it was the modeling stuff changed it for me, actually, looking back. But anyway, great. Fantastic. So there you go, master practitioner. And now you really get serious about the business. And so
I'm a serious man, Tony. Serious man. Very serious.
As I recall, became less and less, and almost like a part-time thing. And the coaching, and then of course you start doing some workshops as well, and speaking. That began to take over. What was that transition like for you? Because when you're doing something for a long time, like you were with the transport stuff, suddenly doing something different and having that focus and thinking, this is what I really want to do. There's a kind of a tension there. What was that like?
I think the more I did the coaching, the more I was resenting the day job, because it was like, I'm on this path and I know this is the right path.
Yeah.
This business is now getting in the way. However, I need this business and this income, because without this, there is going to be none of the coaching. So it was like one was a deep rooted value into why I'm doing it, the coaching. The other one was serving that purpose, because without that, like I said, Tony, I have bills to pay. I still have bills to pay. Yeah, lots of bloody bills to pay. In fact, it all comes in one hand and straight out the other.
I know.
But again, I think with me, I was always very realistic with it, that this isn't going to happen overnight. My priority is to, keep the roof over the head. It's not like I've been given a wad of cash here and it's a case of, go John, go, go take the world on with it. It was a phased out approach, which, worked, but, a lot of hard work to do it, because again, you've got no clients, you've got no business, but you need the business to gain the clients.
Yep, absolutely. It's almost like a chicken and egg. Which do I do first? You just got to do both, and one will just grow. Well, that's always the intention, of course. And in your case, that became a reality. So it grew and grew and grew. And then I guess the point came where you thought goodbye to the transport thing.
Yeah. And I've got, and again, it's not just me with this. I've got, like I said, my wife, if you didn't hear earlier, 25 years husband of the year. It was always conversational stuff with my wife. So it wasn't just a case of this is what I'm doing, sod you all. It was a case of, okay, this is my long-term plan. And my wife, bless her heart, supported me all through this. Again, to this point, all the major decisions, because like I said, it's not like I had a pot of money for marketing or a pot of money for this.
No.
It's a case of having a conversation with my wife saying, look, I need to do this, or I think this will be good. This is going to cost me X amount. Are you okay with that? Because again, it's joint money. It's, I think in the real, it's very real world the way I'm doing it, Tony.
Yeah.
Very real world. Sorry?
It's bootstrapping.
Bootstrapping.
You bootstrap yourself. There's nobody coming in with a big wad of cash and going, yeah, baby, go do it.
Yeah. And I think one thing I've learned in business, Tone, and I think the biggest learning for me, and you bearing in mind, I started my business in around 2018, 2019. Bearing in mind, a year later, we had the pandemic.
Yeah.
And it was like I could see my business on the up. Then the pandemic happened, and it was like, yes, but I still had the courier business, so I was able to go back into the courier business. However, there were then clients coming to me who were struggling through the pandemic. And said, look, so and so's struggling with this. Can you help? And then I'm thinking, right, there's those NLP tools. Are they transferable where I can help somebody? Obviously, again, I know my boundary in who I can help and what I can help. What I can help with. There was a lot of tools, Tony, in that NLP that actually I was able to use to help people to help themselves through the pandemic. And again, through the pandemic, it was a case of just staying visual. It was still a case of just making noises. I actually did some good work through the pandemic, actually. And then after that, Tony, we're on the hangover of the pandemic now, where, money just doesn't seem to be growing on trees or anything. So I think to grow a business in, I'm not comparing it to war times or anything, Tony, but it's been tough years to grow a business.
It happened a few tough years. There was a pandemic and a war, a cost of living crisis. There have been all sorts of things, dodgy governments, which we won't mention on this podcast.
Yeah, we won't do that, right?
Because I'll start ranting. It's been challenging. But, the good news is, though, I think it's, when times get tough, the tough get going type thing. But you're doing it and you're being successful. And so let's just talk a little bit about your successes, because your practice is growing. You've got a lot of clients. It's all happening for you. And I know you do some workshops and some speaking. Mm-hmm. And tell us a little bit about that and maybe some of your recent things, because I know there's a maybe slightly famous type of sports creeping into, if I can sort of prompt you in that direction.
You prompt me however you want, Tony. And again, the speaking of workshops isn't anything new, I don't think. And, when I reflect on it, and again, a lot of this kind of bore out the ideas when I was at college, Tony, and obviously the relationship I built with you, I'm sorry about that now. But, I think, again, workshops, speaking, as much as I love doing them, they're also like a marketing tool. Yeah. Without me being the marketeer of the year, but the bigger audience who can understand what you do, Tony, then the better it is for your, for your business, providing you're saying the right things, I guess, and people like listening to you. But I've always enjoyed speaking, getting my message across, and again, some of the training courses I went on with the college, not the NLP or Master Prep, but there was speaking workshops, there was, anxiety workshops, all these tools were great. And I think the more resources you can have, Tony, I think it just opens up your minds to different avenues to how you can, spread your word or kind of grow your business on a different level by speaking or workshops. I'm proud to say, Tony, I've built this business from nothing.
Okay, so there we have part one of the interview with John Lewis, and I'm sure you'll agree this was really, really interesting. And one of the things that we sort of said after the interview, actually, was so natural and unscripted. It just seemed very, very useful. Somebody telling their story about how they did what they've done and the reasons why. And in next week's episode, John talks more about, how he built the business and what really motivated him, and some other things around, I guess, tips that he would like to share with people about building a practice. So that's going to be very good. We'll have that next week. So listen, that brings me to the end of this week's podcast. Now listen, be sure to subscribe on whatever platform you listen to your podcasts, because that's very important. That helps us see that we're getting sort of some followers and getting feedback. And I think I've said before, if you do have questions around personal development you'd like us to respond to directly, get in touch. We're happy to do that. We'll either do that on this podcast, or you may have even noticed some of the videos that we've been doing, sort of live broadcasts. We've got a lot of feedback on those as well, so we're going to be doing more of those. And of course, if you join the Be Inspired group, you'll be able to see a lot more content that we produce on an ongoing basis. Okay, so till next week, take care of yourselves. Bye for now.